Hello, my name is Mike Bartinio. My group mates are Nicole Griebel, Ali Maradia, and Sirvan Rangarajan, and we are group B42. This is an instructional video for EECS 203 about stable marriage, part 1. If you'd like to know more about stable marriage or other EECS 203 in parentheses discrete math topics, you can visit noadam.com.
So in a stable marriage, we have a group of N women and N men, and we're trying to match each woman up with another man based on the list of preferences that they give, and also the men will also give preferences based on which women they want. And these preferences will be ranked from 1 to N. An example of how we would organize these preferences is in the matrix given, where the rows are the 2 women and the columns are the 2 men in our world. And if we take the first cell given as 1, 2, this means that woman 1 chooses man 1 as her highest preference, but man 1 will choose women 2 as his second highest preference. And now, in order to define the definition of a stable marriage, would mean that in each couple, each spouse would not want to leave the other for another one in a different marriage. So basically, like an example of that in this marriage would be woman 1 and man 1, woman 2 and man 2. So if we look at this, woman 1 chose man 1 as her first choice, right? So she is satisfied. And woman 2 chose man 2 as her first choice. So she is satisfied. Now, if we look at the men, we see that male 2 chose woman 2 as his first choice. So he is satisfied. So now we have both of these as satisfied, and they won't want to leave each other. Also, this one is satisfied. And since our world only comprises of 2 couples, and since this marriage right here is sound, we have a stable marriage, regardless of what man 1 wants to do. Alright, an example of an unstable marriage would be if one of the spouses was with someone who they didn't rank high enough. So in our world right here with the 2 couples, we could have woman 2 and man 1, and then woman 1 plus man 2. So let's take woman 2 here. She chose man 1 as her second choice. So she would prefer to be with man 2, right? And then let's take man 1. He chose woman 2 as his first choice. So he is satisfied, whereas woman 2 is not satisfied. Now let's look at the next marriage. We have woman 1 and man 2. Woman 1 chose man 1 as her first choice and man 2 as her second, so she is not completely satisfied. And let's look at man 2. He chose woman 2 as his first choice, so he'd rather be with her and she would rather be with him. So in this world, we would have man 2 and woman 2 eloping together, and then this would lead to an unstable marriage.
Okay, so the theorem behind a stable marriage is that for every preferential ranking matrix, which is this over on the right-hand side, ranking matrix, there is a stable complete marriage. So that means given any matrix of any sort that there is a stable complete marriage. So that means the one that, this example that is over here on the right hand side, that also has a stable and complete marriage. So the way to find the stable and complete marriage is to use the algorithm. So now I'm going to go through the algorithm that you use to find the stable complete marriage. Give me a second. So okay, algorithm. So the first thing we do is that each woman that was rejected in the last round proposes to her favorite man that hasn't rejected her. So in this example, from step 1, woman 1, she prefers man 1, so woman 1 would propose to man 1, and woman 2 prefers man 2, so she would propose to man 2. So the second step is that each man is tentatively engaged to his favorite woman among his suitors and rejects all others. So in this case, man 1, looking at his preferences, he prefers woman 2. So he's tentatively engaged to, he prefers woman 2, but since woman 2 is not one of his suitors, then he's not tentatively engaged to her, but he only has one suitor, which in this case is woman 1, so he would accept that engagement. And since man 2 prefers woman 2 as well, he would accept her engagement too. So that means these two would be married, and these two would be married in this case. So if we do another case, show you a case where his preference matters. So if we have man 1, man 2, woman 1, and woman 2. So if she prefers, say they both prefer man 2, man 1, my bad, and man 1 prefers woman 1 over woman 2. So in this case, if we follow the first step, each woman is going to propose to her favorite. So in this case, woman 1 would propose to man 1 because that's her preference right here. And woman 2, her preference is also man 1, so she would also propose to man 1. So then we go to our second step. So our second step says that each man is tentatively engaged to his favorite woman among his suitors and rejects all others. So man 1 has two suitors, both woman 1 and woman 2. So you can see that his preference here is woman 1, so he would accept this engagement. And then we move on to step 3, which says repeat until no woman is rejected. So therefore, woman 2 would now go back to step 1, where that woman was rejected. She proposes to a man that hasn't rejected her. So she would then propose to her next favorite. So her next favorite is going to be man 2. So she would propose to man 2. And since we go on to step 2 then, and so man 2 would pick his favorite of his suitors. Since he only has one suitor, he would accept this marriage. And that's how the algorithm works. And now we're going to go into a longer example of how to use this algorithm. Okay, now we're going to step through the algorithm doing with this example. So the women are the uppercase and the men are the lowercase. So the women are going to propose to all their favorite men. So A is going to propose to her favorite man, which is going to be A as well, because she ranked him number 1. B is going to propose to lowercase b, and C is going to propose to D, and D is going to propose to A. Now these are because of all of these women ranked these men as their number 1. So then we go to the second step in the algorithm, which is the man is going to be tentatively engaged to the woman to his favorite woman of those who proposed to him. So lowercase a got proposed to by 2 women, A and D, and looking at his preferences, he ranks A as 2 and D as 3, so he prefers A. So then he's going to be tentatively engaged to A. B has only been proposed to once, so he's going to be tentatively engaged to B, and C was not proposed to, so he won't be tentatively engaged to anyone. D was proposed to by C, so he'll be tentatively engaged to C. So what we're going to do is then the next step is that we repeat this with all the women that have been rejected. So if we note what happened, the tentative engagements that we have is uppercase A to lowercase a, uppercase B to lowercase b, and C to lowercase d. So then the third step is to repeat this until no woman is rejected. So then we go to step 1 again, which says that any woman that was rejected in the previous round proposes to her next favorite man that she hasn't been rejected from. So that means C is going to propose to her second favorite. That means D is going to propose to her second favorite, which is lowercase d. So lowercase d, he is tentatively engaged to C. So then we're going to look at his preferences of those 2. So he ranked D as 3 and ranked C as 4. So therefore, he is going to break his engagement to C and become engaged to D. So then if we take note of that, then we'll erase this, and D is now engaged to D. And then we're going to go on to the step which says to repeat again with the woman that has been rejected. Now since C has now been rejected, she's going to propose to the next man she hasn't been rejected from. So she is going to propose to the man that she ranked second, which is going to be A. So now we look at A, and we see he is currently tentatively engaged to A, and he ranked A as 2 and ranked C as 1. So since he ranked C higher than A, he's going to break his tentative engagement and become engaged to C. So if we take note of that, C is now engaged to A. So now that woman A has been rejected, we have to do the process again with her. So she is going to propose to her favorite man of those who haven't rejected her. So she's only been rejected by lowercase a. So now she's going to propose to her next favorite, which is lowercase b. And lowercase b is currently tentatively engaged to uppercase b. So we have to look at both the rankings of those. So he ranked B as 2 and A as 1. So he's going to break his engagement and become engaged to A. Okay, so we're going to take note of that. So now A is engaged to B. And we get rid of this one. Alright, so now B is the only one who has been rejected, so then she needs to propose to her next favorite. So her next favorite of the ones that haven't rejected her is going to be A, because she ranked A as number 2. So A is currently tentatively engaged to C, and so we're going to look at the ranking that A ranked woman C, and that's 1, and A ranked woman B as 4. So since C is ranked higher than B, A does not break his engagement to C, and he keeps it. So woman B gets rejected again. So then woman B is going to propose to her next favorite of those who have not rejected her. So she's been rejected by man B and man A, so she's going to propose to her third favorite, which is man C. So man C is not currently engaged, and he's been proposed to only by 1, so he's going to accept this engagement. And so therefore, we're going to have woman B with man C. So this is a stable marriage on all parts, and woman optimal. Okay.
We'd like to thank you for watching our instructional video on stable marriage part 1. We are, once again, group B42, and we hope you have found this unbelievably helpful. If you would like to know more about stable marriage, or EECS 203, or discrete math, you can, once again, visit noadam.com. Thank you.